Bhadram karnebhi shrnuyama devaha Bhadram pashyemakshabiryajatraha Stirairangaihi tushtuvagam sastanubhihi Vyashema devahitam yadayuhu Svastina indro vrdhashravaha Svastina pusha vishwavedaha Svastina starkshyo arishtanemihi Svastino brahaspatir dadhatu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So, quick revision. Verse 3 talked about, and we said it is like a movie screen, and on which the whole play happens, on which the play has been going on for eons. And this Brahman has a capacity to manifest. When this capacity manifests, the first manifestation from this capacity, which is a potential of knowledge and power, is Hiranyagarbha. In other words, we also call it Brahma. Blueprint of creation. And what does the blueprint for you mean? Potential is already, from the potential arises this blueprint. But what does the blueprint for you mean? Concepts of how everything is going to work, how things will work, for how long, your cells will only divide 40 to 60 times. Your lungs will purify, your bladder would excrete, the kidneys will purify blood, the liver will purify blood. Certain cells will produce certain kinds of energies, which we will talk about. Glucogen, glucose, fatty acids, amino acids, all of them are designed to perform their intended function in your body, and you didn't do any of this. So it's already programmed in the blueprint. In other words, the blueprint puts it all together. It puts the arms, puts everything together. I was saying the other day at the table, there's a creature called axolotl. Axolotl, I think that's how you spell it. And it's like a whitish, I think it's about 20 centimeters. And if you cut a limb off, if you cut the entire limb, it will grow back exactly the same distance in the same shape. So it's already programmed. Its cells already have programmed information how long to regenerate and what color, and and the function continues to do exactly what it was doing before it was cut off. So this is a testimony of intelligence in something as little as an axolotl. You have a hand up?
Yes, please. I have a question. Could you say that it's an equivalent of, this is on a cosmic level, an equivalent of this in one individual mind? If you start thinking, and you almost have this idea, but the thought is not concrete yet. Is it because yesterday you also said it's thoughts. So on the individual level, is it almost having the thought, the urge to think, or is it the thought itself?
Okay, we can't quite say, there's no really first that came, but if there was to be a first the potential, in fact, we said before the potential, what happened? Brahman, he bulges with the recognition of his infinite potential. Like, wow, I've got this amazing infinite knowledge in me, and I am now bulged. I am inflated with infinite joy. Now, in that second, when you say, I've recognized my potential, in that second, at the same time, that potential has also converted itself into a thought, an entire blueprint for what has come, right? So this blueprint, in our case, right? We just have a little musical blueprint or artistic blueprint, and maybe we make money with it. Maybe we make, you had microwaves, that's an accidental invention. There was, in 18 something, there was a man who was walking his dog amidst a flowery field. And you know those flowers which they grab onto your clothes and they're hard to take off. And he always found his puppy, grabbing so many of them. So he spent a lot of time taking them off. And he thought, well, what is it? He was a scientist. What is it about this? What is it called? A seed. I'll call it a seed. What is it about the seed that's able to just latch on so well? So he looked at it under a microscope, and he found that they have a certain, like a Barbie structure, like a very barb-like structure. And he says, inspiration. Hey, why don't I create Velcro?
Then this information is being discovered, so to say. We have the sense of being a thinker, but one could say actually we're being the thought. It's on this.
That's a good point. I mean, it is being discovered based on our new desire. Our insatiable appetite makes us keep on wanting to discover more and more and more. So it's really our appetite, our desire for more, that ends up bringing more innovations in the world. Otherwise, we'd be happy a long time ago with just a simple calculator and a word processor or a simple game. But what do you have to do nowadays? You have to make your computer game so realistic, it's indistinguishable from real life. So it's our desire for more that sends the message, let's discover more. Who knows, maybe we'll even discover flying cars, anti-gravity, But the point is, where is that is yet to be discovered right now? Is it non-existent? No. And that's what we call in that potential. It is just waiting to be, for a mind to tune in based on a certain need in the society to put your thought in that direction and say, I've looked at all of these variables, none of them, but this one I haven't seen. And then you discover something new. So all we really do is we look at this field of knowledge, and we look over there, we discover semiconductors, we look over there, we discover Velcro, we look over there, discover, that energy converts to matter, or matter converts to energy, vice versa. But then we go, this I haven't discovered. And then you go, wow, that's a new invention there. AI.
We were just instruments in the whole big picture.
In a way, we're being sort of, used to tap into the blueprint and draw out from this infinite blueprint knowledge. So we're just sort of contributors. So nothing's really yours. You're just you think, I discovered it. Copyright. But it's not copyright. The ultimate copyright. In fact, there is no copyright. It's just all being borrowed from this blueprint.
You say it is waiting to be discovered, but that's from human perspective. It is there. So we human, we need that to get shown up. So it is there in potential. And it doesn't wait, it is just there.
It's just there, yeah.
It doesn't do anything.
Yeah. So in a sense, there's no original creator here. There's no original innovator, you see? So it's very funny when we introduce these copyright laws and patent. I've got a special patent that you cannot have a foldable phone. Well, that concept of folding was already in potential. So is copyright. Now, of course, you can't really function in society like this if everyone's just stealing from everyone else. So we have to then create additional laws, human laws, on top of natural laws to create some sensible, coherent society that we can all get along with. Yeah. So, you see, so it's not like, it's human invention, so, let's disregard it. It's very complex. Otherwise, you couldn't, function in this world. That's why we have, ironically, rules on the road. And you say, well, I don't like rules, But if you didn't have rules on the road, would you have freedom on the road? That's the thing. So freedom really means abiding to a certain rule set, without which those adharmic minds would take over and you would have no freedom whatsoever. So it's not so black or white, I want to be free. Free within a structure.
And you also see that with raising children, that many parents nowadays, anyway in Holland, they think, we have to let them free, And they become little monsters.
Gremlins. Yeah, entitlement. I can have it all. I can, but I can't have it all. And that's a great skill. That's a great talent. That's a great quality to have. Yes, I can have it all, but I'm not going to have it all. Okay, so from this Hiranyagarbha comes then, we said, the subtle body. So it's in preparation. That means capacity to communicate, to see, and so on. Subtle body. Another name for subtle body is just mind in English. Mind. So what does psychology have to do? They have to study the blueprint of the mind and then show to the patient, here's how to align and what you need to do, because your mind is not aligned to the psychological laws. That's why the patient is suffering. Thus, all the psychologist does is studies the mind, which is nothing but a psychological order, which is coming from the blueprint, and then aligning the patient to that order. That's all we're ever doing, aligning to the order. Same thing with physiology. If one is sick or ill or whatever, then you have to find a way for, go to a chiropractor to do some acupressure, some adjustments. So all you're doing is just realigning constantly. Now, 5 elements. Now that the 5 elements in the world has been created, the total being, you could say, is called Virat. This is another name which means one who appears as many. So who is that one? Because everything comes from the one. So one who appears as many gains another name called Virat. I am perceiving Virat. In other words, I am perceiving the one, Brahman, who is appearing as many. And how do you relate to this Virat? I look up and I recognize his intelligence, his blueprint, which is governing all of this. I look into the sun next time and go, oh, sun, I don't want you, You see his beautiful eyes, always watching everything. Nothing goes outside his sight. He is the seer of all things. Simple poetry to instill some form of devotion. And that devotion further gets instilled in next verse 5 about the 5 fires. And this is, just a poetical way of showing his way of design, his engineering. How does he engineer this universe? Well, for us, he creates the sun, he creates the moon and the clouds then move themselves, get blown different directions, and then they fall as rain. Rain gives vegetation rise, which then further give different nutrients for different species, and that attracts species in particular groups, and people even start homes in a particular rainy region, all because of the rain. Without the rain, you can't really survive. And the rain falls, the male eats, it produces and strengthens his sperm, that gets impregnated into the female then gives birth to another child, and this has been going on. This is his design, and his engineering in action gives you devas higher in their merits, their punyam, whereas we human beings have mixture. He makes animals and birds. Remember, they too are Brahman's creation. See, I heard in Christianity that, I'm not sure, you confirm this for me, that animals don't have souls. Is this true?
I think so.
Yeah.
In the past, they would think that anybody who was not white
Right.
did not have a soul.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
they could just kill people from wherever.
Okay. So, see, if this is true, we don't have this in Advaita, in the Vedic culture.
It's not in the Bible,
Not
it's
in
in
the Bible.
Christianity.
Okay. I just heard somewhere, but I haven't confirmed. But in Vedanta, everything is sentient. So, according to this vision, believe it or not, an insect is as precious, a mosquito is as precious as a human being. Look at this. A saint comes to give a talk, and he or she is doing a wonderful job, right? They're sharing the greatest knowledge there is, and the students really need that. It's really changing people's lives. And there's mosquitoes in the area. Now, the mosquito is hungry. The mosquito bites the saint. The saint gets sick, dengue fever or malaria, and dies. Possible. How more precious is the mosquito than the saint in the larger order? See? Only we look at it like that. It's not like the Lord says, hey, the saint is doing such an important work. I'm going to make the mosquito not bite the saint because we can't afford this. It's the last living saint on earth. We can't afford him or her to die. That's how we think. That's not how the order thinks. If the mosquito needs to feed on you and give you whatever it is, and it leads to death, that's how it is in creation. So, in the Vedic culture, everything is precious. Metaphor continues into the secret groups of 7, and then it talks about beam of awareness, awareness prostrating to awareness. This is the Lord prostrates to the Lord. That's why we always have namaste. That means I acknowledge in you that which is also in me. Then verse 10, Purushaha eva idam vishwam karma tapaha brahma param amritam etat yaha veda nihitam guhayam saha avidya grantim vikirati iha somya. So let's look at the first. The world consisting of Vedic rituals, religious disciplines, and meditation, and the Vedas, and so on, is Brahman alone. So again, this is Sarvam Kalu Idam Brahma. This is all that is here is Brahman. So the scriptures employ 2 methods to help you arrive to the truth. We call it the beginner method and the advanced method. Atyaropavada, deliberate superimposition. This is how all spiritual teachers begin teaching, right? At the start, for those who are just getting into the knowledge. So here we say things like, everything here is born of this Purusha, because here we're introducing a new word called Purusha, being. So I can call you Purusha, you're a being, right? But what kind of, for now, a small being, right? Relatively. Brahman is Purusha, what kind of being? Infinite, right? Big. How big? Root brch, which means big, without any adjective. So there's no qualifier of big, like Eiffel Tower big. In other words, nothing's limiting bigness of Brahman. It is infinitely big. Therefore, nothing will ever be bigger than Brahman. Meaning what? Nothing is outside of Brahman. Meaning what? Brahman is the only truth that is here. So there will never be some kind of a second reality that is outside of Brahman, which is why we call it Ananta. It is limitless. It is limitlessly big. Everything is from this one being, or the self, right? We call this being the self. The tree is from this being. The air is from this being. Your thought is from this being. So what we're saying is, all of these are effects, and this is the cause. See what we're doing here? We're deliberately superimposing all forms that we can see onto this being. So everything we see It is none other than from this Purusha, from this being. We're deliberately superimposing onto it. The Veda now comes in and says, this causal relationship, this cause and effect is not actually real. Because cause and effect is a provisional teaching. Then the scriptures introduces, okay, now that you have been doing this deliberate superimposition, let us introduce you to the second apavada vakya. If I look at a gold and an ornament, can you really say that the ring is an effect of the gold? Think about this statement, please. The ring is an effect of the gold. Okay, you have to explain why.
It could be anything else.
Okay, keep going.
If there's gold, it's not that there'll be a ring or whatever. It's just gold. It's the
Gold is mind stuff. If you take the ring away, the gold is not any less than before.
Yeah, excellent. Do you see what we're getting at? The ring is an effect of the gold. What ring? You only call it ring because it has it's gold taking a form of that. But whatever that is gold. This cause-effect relationship is provisional. There's only one Purusha here, and the relationship between that Purusha and this other side is a Satya Mithya relationship. In other words, when you say world, like world or person, that person is none other than Purusha. Experience is none other than Purusha. I, whoever I you want to call it, is none other than Purusha. John, how did you get from when you said, oh, this here is gold? What happened in your mind when you said that?
I excluded the ring.
The form.
I see the ring as name and form.
So you cognitively swallowed the name and form. That which appears. The one who knows this limitless, timeless Brahman or Purusha, which is present in the Buddhi. How do you know an object? You know an object because it is always an object, right? It's something that's other than the subject. So when it comes to knowing Brahman, is this how you know Brahman? By knowing it as another object? No. Then how do you know Brahman? By learning about it? How do you know awareness exists?
because it is there.
Because it is there.
It is just
It's simple. It is there. So it's... Are you aware? You're aware? You see? So it's there. That's how I know it exists. So Brahman is thus understood as the truth of the knower. Now, someone said this, you said, by knowing about it. How do you know about Brahman? What kind of knowledge gives you Brahman? Remember the first verse we introduced? So how do I know it? I need Brahma Vidya. So how does Brahma Vidya work to reveal awareness? Does it have to tell me that you have awareness? No.
it has to take away what makes me overlook it.
Yeah, it takes away what makes me overlook that. It brings a certain separation initially between what I mix myself as, what I am, and what I'm not. Let's ask this question again. What does Brahma Vidya do? How does it reveal your true nature? Does Brahma Vidya give you anything new? To whom does Brahma Vidya talk to? To the gold or to the ring? No. To the ring. Because you're coming as a what? You're coming as a ring. Brahma Vidya talks to the ring. And does Brahma Vidya give anything to the ring? No. What does Brahma Vidya do in reference to the ring?
It shows it's not there.
You're not a ring.
No, but the ring says, I am a ring, right? So Brahma Vidya has to show something to the ring. But is Brahma Vidya showing something new to the ring? No. What is Brahma Vidya doing to the ring?
It shows the
Going
goal.
away ignorance.
It's showing something that the ring is already enjoying right now. So it says, Mr. or Mrs. Ring, Miss Ring, your truth is that which you already are. You're just obtaining as a ornament for a while. You haven't gone anywhere. You're just enjoying yourself as, let's not call it a ring, let's call it Shan. So it doesn't add anything, it simply subtracts. It subtracts all these notions that I was good as the ring. I am much more than the ring. But when I say much more than the ring, it's not a new addition. It's just saying that I am much more than just one form. I'm the truth of all forms. And that which is the truth of all forms is called, where is this? Purusha. So where is that vast, infinitely big Purusha right now? Right here, right now, obtaining as you. Your very I am, which you thought was bound to you, one ring, is the universal I am that belongs to everyone. So your sense of self, I am, that's the exact same self of the Purusha. No, Advaita just means all names and forms, right? All ornaments resolve into one substance. That's it. You know, like a table, right? Table made from wood, this chair made from wood, right? Does the table and the chair contradict the wood? No, because wherever there is table, that's exactly where the wood is. Okay? So all we're doing is we're looking at it and we're recognizing it resolves into one unifying substance. So what does Advaita mean? There's one material cause here. Just like you are one material cause of your entire dream. So the dream has duality, all right, but all of those dualistic forms in the dream resolve into one Purusha. And from that one sleeper, there's a power to project the many. But those many don't contradict, are not different from the one from whom the dream arises and resolves into. And then sleep comes, and that potential is there. But there's no world, there's no dream world. And then again, the potential activates, it just activates, it projects another world, big, vast, complex world, and it makes you, the one Purusha, seem like one of the many, who's having a fight with one of the many, who is having a dinner and discussing what to eat. And going, wow, what delicious food this is. The food is you, the plate is you, the digestive fire is you, the taste is you, the person whom you're having a conversation with is you, the thought about that person is you, the waking state is you, this waking state is you. So you manifest the waking state, and then in that waking state, you manifest characters. You're enjoying that character right now. And it gives that character a break once in a while. That's why we have sleep. If you didn't have sleep, you could never appreciate your nature. Sleep is your refuge. Otherwise, we'll constantly only experience waking and dream, and person will probably go crazy. Every once in a while, you just need to shut off, totally shut off, and go back to your nature, at least for a few hours. That's what retains your sanity. If you didn't have sleep, you know people like this, right? You just can't think, lousy. Therefore, we need a total reboot.
Andre, can we say that inference is involved to realize this truth?
No, because we said the knowledge flows from top down. You have to be given a vision. Kind of yes and no. You have to be given a vision of Brahman. And then you say, by that logic, you say, well, if there is, just like with the physical eye, if there is sight, there has to be a seer, right? And if there is experience, there has to be one in whom there has to be an unchanging presence, because of which all changing experiences are recognized. So in that sense, you can kind of infer, yeah. But you still need to be given the vision of that which you are seeking, like the I am. What's the nature of this I am? So, two things are shown. Your I am is not your I am. Whose I am is it? It's a universal I am. And the subject, who you take yourself to be, and the object, is there any difference? No. So, where is your I am then? Is it just here? Okay, let's find a piece of cow dung. That's you. And me. Yeah, that's why we said initially, Brahman is the knower, the known, and the knowing. So I can't just say, hey, I'm Brahman. I'm Brahman. You see what I'm doing? I'm Brahman. I'm opening my eyes, I'm looking at Brahman, but my Brahman's over here. So I can't localize amness or awareness just here. Just here is called the knower. That's here, what we experience, like here. But it's not just here, it's also over there. Thus, known, which is an object. And the knowing, that means the thoughts that you're having about that object. Thoughts. Another name for knowing is thoughts. Okay? As we said yesterday, thought is. You understand? Wherever there's the isness, that isness is this Brahman, is Purusha. And then the statement continues, resolves the knot of ignorance. What happens when you pull on the wrong end of the knot? You got a complex knot and you pull it on the wrong end. It makes it worse. So sometimes schools tend to do this. They pull the wrong ends of the knots. So resolves the smallness, the inadequacy. All of this becomes resolved, and you recognize all that is here is thus one Purusha manifesting as many.
Andre, could you say something more about timeless Brahman present in Buddhi?
Present in the Buddhi. So in Vedanta we say, where do you know self? Like, where do you know self? And we say you know self specifically in your intellect, in that thinking capacity, the buddhi. Do you know the self? Like if I say, where is your self localized now? I can cut the finger off, right? And I still know the self. So they say the self is specifically known in the buddhi. Just put it doesn't really matter. Just say the self is known. Sometimes they put their hands, because when you say, personally speaking, I, they go like this, I, but it doesn't mean it's physical. It doesn't mean it's in the heart, because I know people who had heart transplants, they're holding a box with their artificial heart. They don't have a heart in the moment. And they got 24 hours to be in a park, just to enjoy the park a little bit. They have a battery-powered heart. And they go like this and interviewing, I'm totally okay right now. How can you tell that your knot of ignorance is not resolved? We kind of were heading that way yesterday, when we were kind of trying to impute satyam onto a guru. Remember this? Yes. In other words, the guru is supposed to be pure. It's supposed to be like God. This is our era, because we're coming from that standpoint. The ignorant one is imputing satyam onto their body-mind, because they've been doing it for eons, and so they do the same thing onto the guru. And so they want the guru to be that example of God, pure, so divine. Imputing satyam onto mithya, which is never perfect. In other words, we say the self has no sorrow. And so we try to make the mind free of sorrow. And if there is no freedom of sorrow, we say, I am not liberated, I need to be pure. Oh, Mr. Guru, you're showing some signs of egotism, you're showing some anger, therefore you're not enlightened. No one's enlightened for them. And these are the types who are constantly comparing who's enlightened and who's not. I've read it all online. And who's doing that? The one who's imputing satyam onto mithya. Therefore, there's a great relaxation knowing it's okay. Don't have to be perfect. Maybe that's what Krishna was trying to show us when he was stealing the butter in the Bhagavad Gita. Hey, even the Lord, even though everything is the Lord's, the butter is the Lord's, why is the Lord stealing butter? Why is he being mischievous? If he's the dharmic one, if he's the all-knowing one, if he's the perfect one, why does he steal? Maybe he wants to show us that, hey, that's how the play is. Maybe get rid of your notions that the Lord's supposed to be so pure and divine. Maybe this is what we want to see in somebody, because we yearn it in ourselves. We yearn to get back to our purity. And so we impute that desperately onto another person. And the Lord comes in and says, hey, I'm going to steal. I'm going to be mischievous. Take that.
Isn't that the same as the desire to be enlightened? It's the same thing. Like you want to be perfect. People who want that.
Yeah, it's a big thing. Big, big, big thing. Desiring to be perfect. Purity. I don't mention names in my class, but I already got them now in my mind. There's schools that make you wear certain clothes. They say that stay celibate, get out of your relationship. It's all impure. Don't, engage in lovemaking. It's all just there to contaminate you. I know exactly the kind of schools I'm talking about now, but I'm not going to say them. They are very popular. So they're trying to make you very pure. But the school themselves, remember the blind lineage, the blind leading the blind? That's an example of that.
But that's a form of drama, isn't it?
That's a form of
drama. You said, you asked us, how do you know the nut is gone?
Self is free of sorrow, and you want to constantly make your mind free of sorrow. You want to make your mind perfect. That's how you know you're still caught up. Because you're imputing purity, that which is the most pure, satyam, onto your mind, which is inherently always imperfect. In other words, there's a constant, desperate attempt to be better, be better, be better, which is okay. I'm not saying now stop being better, but there's this your sense of well-being is so tied to constant improvement, to constant kind of, expansion. But I'm not saying stop, because why not? Because as long as there's a human brain, there's a natural tendency to keep on evolving. This is built into all creation. This is what we men and women do. We constantly evolve. We can't stop that.
We are now at we started at the Adi Europa Vakya, and we went to the Apavada.
Yeah, Apavada Vakya, yeah.
So it's the denying of, first we had the cause-effect relation.
Yeah.
Now we say there is no cause-effect relation.
Correct.
So there is no creation.
Yes, because creation is still a cause-effect. So ultimately, I just see this as one Purusha manifesting as many. See, no creation, that's called a Jativada also.
If you're ignorant, you also continue to have suffering in your life. So how do you know the difference? Because both carry some degree of suffering.
When a person doesn't know their truth, they're very kind of, agitated by things, very annoyed by it, and it doesn't leave their mind. So they're unable to relax. They're unable just to do what is to be done because they're constantly bothered by the environment's errors and people's quirks and their own quirks. So there's a certain bothering about it. It stands out. Did you ever notice how you could have many people and one person stands out and they bother you? Right? You don't know why. Their face just stands out. You notice? Like they're just flesh like anything else. But they just stand out. So this means something in me is still not resolved. It's not resolved. So for the wise person, right? what stands out? Nothing really stands out. Everything has a certain equanimity to it. Right? It's fine. I can be okay with flaws, but they don't bother me. I can be okay with my own flaws. They just don't bother me. And how else do you know? Doubtless knowledge. Doubtless knowledge.
Thank you. So, is the imperfection, is it like perfect because the imperfection is also part of that perfection? Or is it like that it is, we think it's imperfect because we judge about it and that makes it no.
Excellent observation. Is there such thing as imperfection? Or is it imperfect because we give a meaning onto it that contradicts our fancies? I want it to be like this, and it's not, thus it is imperfect.
So prejudices. So you don't project your prejudices on your imperfections or perfection.
Yeah.
And that statement that doesn't bother me, so why? But then I'm thinking, is it you becoming indifferent?
No, it's not indifferent, because there's an inherent system of empathy reaching out. To become indifferent is you're separating yourself from others. You're no longer a contributor. The natural state of a human being is to reach out. Reaching out. If I stop reaching out, or that's your stuff, I don't care, there's some kind of a discord there, this distance.
Yeah, and it maybe works for some time, but you do get the urge to go out and
You do get here, maybe to take a rest on your own also. You need a rest for yourself. But generally, we're not talking about apathy or coldness or, disconnect. It's just a natural friendliness.
the effect after first studying Advaita Vedanta.
Yeah.
And then something really bad happened in my life, and then for 2 years I thought, okay, I need to do nothing.
Got it.
Everything, and
Got it.
then, when things got better, then
Got it.
came
Got it.
to go out and do, but knowing that it has no meaning, that it's just...
One statement that I remember from A Course in Miracles, as I said, I studied this, that always stuck with me was, the only meaning there is the meaning that we give it. You give things meanings. It has no meaning of its own. The world has a meaning that I give it, that I impute upon it. Okay?
So can I check if where is my understanding?
Yeah.
So when we want to improve ourselves from the anatma ahamkara perspective, there's this whole thing that tries to improve.
Mm-hmm.
And if I identify with atma, if I realize it, I still can improve, but not with this, not with this tension that I feel now around it. It starts with the identification, no?
Just to come to this knowledge, does that not imply you've already gone through so much of habitual working upon yourself? You've worked on yourself. So you've built a habit of just general improvement. So that habit stays there. That continues even after knowledge. Because that's what you've been doing before. So the general habit continues, but you're fine. You know with doubtlessly the person, this is all going to the person. Person is improving so they can contribute more. But you know that ultimately my nature is much bigger than just this person. That is doubtless. And within that doubtless mode, improvement continues. Because that is what a successful, holistic, dharmic person does. They're always like, what can I do? What can I offer? And in that process, you're learning, you're making mistakes, and thus your improvement continues. Purnamadav, Purnamidam, Purnat, Purnamudachyate, Purnasya, Purnamadaya Purnam eva avashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.